Afternoon, I'm Max Brantley with the Arkansas Times, Wednesday, July 29th. News headlines from Arkansas. Let me give you something to worry about for about 3 years. The Arkansas Highway and Transportation Department announced this morning that it had completed successfully the first study phase of the enormous project to widen Interstate 30 through downtown Little Rock and North Little Rock, and that will include replacing the Interstate 30 bridge over the Arkansas River. The next stage is the environmental assessment, and this will include more specifics about where interchanges are going to be located and that sort of thing. It's going to be a 10-lane project. It's going to be a huge thing. I hope I'm retired by 2018 when construction will start so that I don't have to worry about the big headache downtown. There's still time to have some input about what they do about the flow of traffic on and off the freeway in downtown Little Rock. It's a big question. There's one piece of good news. The money is going to be on hand. The money's building up in a fund that was established in part by voter approval of a sales tax increase, a temporary one several years ago. The Highway Department has money troubles between troubles in passing a federal highway bill and flat revenue from the fuel tax in Arkansas. They don't have the money they need to do construction projects, either rehabilitation, repair, or new 4-lane projects. A task force appointed by Governor Asa Hutchinson has been talking about this. Really, the only question is what kind of tax will be raised. Will it be the fuel tax, which makes more sense, or will they again fall back on trying to divert money from other general revenue projects and put it into highways? That's the question for the governor's task force and the governor really to decide. Speaking of task force, the governor's task force on the Common Core education curriculum, another body that was put together to put off, at least for a period of time, making some tough decisions on a controversial issue, will meet tomorrow, issue some recommendations. I think they will issue recommendations in line with what the governor wants them to issue. That is, they will make some ostensible changes in the Common Core curriculum, but the main change will be is they're going to give it a different name, rebrand it, call it something else, and eliminate this unpleasant name, Common Core. They've gotten rid of the tests that caused a great deal of unhappiness. I suspect this is going to end up being a whole lot more about cosmetics than real fundamental change in education before it's over with. The Hot Springs Police Chief late yesterday, issued a long statement responding to widespread criticism for the failure of the department to take any action or make any arrests in the heat-related death of an 18-month-old child last Friday in Hot Springs. The child is the son of a juvenile judge there, Wade Naramore. There's been criticism that somehow the police are moving slowly on this because of his stature. I don't think the evidence shows that yet. The police chief said there's a special prosecutor. They had to complete their investigation, that sort of thing. Ultimately, the proof of whether this is being handled properly or not is in what they decide to do and whether people, after they hear all the evidence, think that the move was strong enough. But it's clearly causing some discomfort for the Hot Springs police chief. Mike Huckabee continued to back and fill today on his comparison of the Iranian nuclear deal with marching Israel to the gas ovens as if in the Holocaust. On one moment in one interview, he said, well, maybe he should have used a different metaphor, but he said it was still appropriate. Later, he said had no regrets. Mike Huckabee never has regrets, but he's caught a lot of grief over this, including from leaders of conservative factions in Israel, who he claims supported him up and down the road on this, which apparently they did not. Here's some nice news. A poet at the University of Arkansas, Davis McComb, is going to have a poem published in the next issue of New Yorker magazine. Quite an accomplishment for a poet. It's about his observations of a beehive that's on a dumpster outside his window. It's an evocative piece of writing. We talk sometimes about how the U of A has left behind the liberal arts and concentration on money subjects. Here's a poet who's doing good, so that's a nice thing. In Manila, state police are investigating the fatal shooting by Manila police of a man that they say advanced on one of their officers with a knife drawn. For your reading displeasure, or at least for your information, I urge you to go to the New York Times website and the New York Times Magazine for an extensive cover story on how the Republican Party over a span of years, through a very sophisticated effort, intensive, comprehensive, legal, and smart, is wrecking the Voting Rights Act. There's a really pivotal case yet to be decided in North Carolina, but through a variety of means, whether voter ID, shortening of hours, making it harder to cast absentee ballots, they have succeeded in a strategy that has depressed the number of poor people, minorities, and college students voting, which was exactly their objective in setting out on this course. Here's some more great news for you. A little magazine put together a feature on the cutest dogs on Capitol Hill, and guess what? Senator Tom Cotton's Bichon Frise Cowboy made the list at number 11. He's got a fine little dog there. And finally, I mentioned earlier this week a glossy video put together by pork producers in support of the hog farm in the Buffalo River National River watershed up near Mount Judy. The people on the other side of this fight, the Buffalo River Watershed Alliance, have put together a film of their own talking about the dangers of hog farming up there. That's also posted online. Take a look at both of them and see which propaganda piece you're more likely to believe, science or the feel-good things about a factory farm full of hogs. You can find these films, by the way. This came up the other day when somebody asked. Most of the things we talk about here can be found at arkansasblog.com. Take a look. It's online. I'll be back tomorrow.